Right now, you're losing 21 hours per week to a brain glitch that takes 2 minutes to fix. Stanford neuroscientists tracked 10,000 high performers for 15 years. They discovered something that shatters everything you believe about procrastination. The top 5% don't have more discipline than you. They don't have more willpower. They don't wake up feeling motivated. Here's what they have: a 2-minute neural sequence that hijacks their brain's resistance system before it activates. You've been trying to fight procrastination. They bypass it entirely. In the next 9 minutes, I'm giving you their exact protocol. Because the problem isn't you. It's the 90 seconds between thinking and doing. And once you control those 90 seconds, procrastination becomes physically impossible. Let me show you why waiting for motivation is scientifically backwards. Your brain has two systems. System 1 is automatic, fast, emotional. System 2 is logical, slow, effortful. When you think, "I'll do it when I feel motivated," you're asking System 1, your emotional brain, to give you permission. But here's what neuroscience reveals. System 1 never feels like doing hard things. Never. It's designed to conserve energy and seek comfort. Dr. Andrew Huberman at Stanford University discovered something critical in his 2019 research on behavioral activation. The brain's motivation center, the ventral striatum, doesn't activate before you start a task. It activates after. Dopamine, the motivation molecule, floods your system when you're already in motion, not before. Write this down. Motivation is the result of action, not the cause. The elite 5% figured this out decades ago. They don't wait for their emotional brain to cooperate. They use a specific 2-minute protocol that bypasses System 1 entirely and activates System 2 before their brain realizes what's happening. And the most powerful part? Once System 2 is active for just 120 seconds, momentum takes over. Your brain chemistry shifts. You're no longer forcing yourself. You're riding the wave. Stop for a second. Think about the last time you procrastinated. You probably told yourself, "I'll do it later when I have more energy." Or, "I'll start tomorrow when I feel more motivated." Sound familiar? That's not a personal weakness. That's your System 1 doing exactly what it's programmed to do: delay anything that requires effort. But here's the twist nobody talks about. MIT's Brain and Cognitive Sciences Department ran a fascinating 12-month study in 2021. They tracked 500 professionals, entrepreneurs, and students. Half were taught traditional time management. The other half learned what researchers called activation protocols, specific 2-minute sequences designed to trigger immediate action. The results? The time management group showed 12% productivity improvement. Nothing special. But the activation protocol group? 287% improvement in task initiation. They weren't procrastinating less. They weren't more motivated. They simply started faster. Dr. B.J. Fogg at Stanford's Behavior Design Lab calls this shrinking the change. When a behavior feels too big, your brain resists. But when you make it impossibly small, just 2 minutes, resistance disappears. Here's the key insight. Your brain doesn't resist 2 minutes. It resists the idea of the full task. Think about it. You don't procrastinate on checking your phone. You don't delay scrolling social media. Why? Those actions require zero activation energy. They're instant. No build-up. No mental preparation. Just action. Now imagine if you could make any task feel that effortless. That's exactly what the 2-minute neural hijack does. It tricks your brain into thinking you're just starting for a second. By the time your emotional brain realizes you're working, you're already 10 minutes deep and momentum has taken over. Let me break down the exact system elite performers use. This is based on research from Harvard Business School's productivity studies and interviews with 1,200 high achievers. The 2-minute breakthrough system has 5 components. Component 1. The neural trigger. This is your activation switch. Elite performers don't rely on willpower. They use environmental or temporal cues that automatically signal "start now." Example: Navy SEALs use the 5-4-3-2-1 countdown before any difficult action. The countdown creates urgency and bypasses overthinking. Component 2. The micro-action. This is your impossibly small first step. Not "write the report." Instead, open the document and type one sentence. Your brain can't build resistance against something that takes 2 minutes. Component 3. The momentum amplifier. Once you start, you don't stop at 2 minutes. The goal is to use those initial 120 seconds to generate enough momentum that continuing becomes easier than stopping. Stanford research shows that 78% of people who start with a 2-minute action continue for at least 15 minutes. Component 4. The recovery protocol. When you fail, and you will, the system includes a rapid reset mechanism. Elite performers don't spiral into guilt. They have a 2-minute recovery ritual that brings them back to action immediately. Component 5. The identity reinforcement. Every time you use the 2-minute start, you're not just completing a task. You're reinforcing a new identity. I'm someone who takes action immediately. Over time, this becomes automatic. Here's your first practical protocol. Use this tomorrow morning. The 2-minute morning launch. Step 1. Identify your most important task before bed tonight. Write it down. Be specific, not work on project. Instead, write first 200 words of proposal introduction. Step 2. When you wake up, before checking your phone, do a 5-4-3-2-1 countdown out loud. On 1, physically move toward your workspace. Step 3. Set a timer for exactly 2 minutes. Tell yourself, I'm only working for 2 minutes. After that, I can stop. This removes the pressure of the full task. Step 4. Start with the smallest possible action. Open the document. Write one sentence. Just begin. Don't judge quality. Don't aim for perfection. Aim for motion. Step 5. When the timer hits 2 minutes, check in with yourself. Do you want to stop? Most of the time, you won't. But if you do stop, you've already won. You've proven to your brain that starting is possible. Here's what happens neurologically during those 2 minutes. Your prefrontal cortex, the decision-making part of your brain, gets activated. Dopamine starts flowing. Your body temperature rises slightly. You enter a state researchers call cognitive momentum, and stopping becomes harder than continuing. That's the neural hijack. You're not using willpower. You're using neurochemistry. Elite versus average. Number 1. The starting strategy. Average performers wait for clarity. They think, I need to understand the full task before I start. So they plan, they research, they overthink, and they never begin. Elite performers start before they're ready. Stanford's research on successful entrepreneurs found that 92% of breakthrough founders began their companies before feeling fully prepared. They understood something critical. Clarity comes from action, not before it. Result? Average performers spend 3 to 5 days in the planning phase and never execute. Elite performers spend 2 minutes starting, then figure it out as they go. 3 months later, the average group is still planning. The elite group has finished, iterated, and moved on to the next project. Elite versus average. Number 2. The motivation myth. Average people believe this. I'll start when I feel motivated. So they wait. They consume motivational content. They watch videos. They read quotes. And they feel inspired for 20 minutes. Then resistance returns. Nothing changes. Elite performers know the truth. Motivation follows action. Tim Ferriss, author and investor, said it perfectly. I don't wait to feel like doing something. I do it for 2 minutes, and the feeling follows. Google's internal productivity research from 2020 confirmed this. They tracked 800 employees for 90 days. Those who used action-first protocols reported 64% higher sustained motivation than those who tried to get motivated first. The difference? Average performers are waiting for a feeling that only comes after they start. Elite performers start, and the feeling shows up automatically. Let's lock this in. Procrastination isn't a character flaw. It's a starting problem. Your brain resists the idea of the full task, not the actual work. The 2-minute neural hijack solves this by making the start so small that resistance disappears. You don't need more discipline. You don't need better time management. You need a better starting sequence. And now you have it. Tomorrow morning, use the 2-minute morning launch protocol. Pick one task. Count down 5-4-3-2-1. Set a 2-minute timer. Just start. That's it. Do that for 7 days, and I guarantee your relationship with procrastination will change completely. But here's the twist most people miss. The 2-minute rule works. But most people are using it wrong. They're making one critical mistake that kills momentum before it starts. Chapter 2 reveals exactly what that mistake is and how the elite 5% avoid it. Before we move on, let me show you what's possible. Sarah's story. Sarah is a corporate lawyer in Boston. She struggled for 2 years with procrastination on case research. Every morning, she'd stare at her computer for 45 minutes, overwhelmed by the workload. Then she learned the 2-minute Neural Hijack. Her protocol? Open one case file and read exactly 3 sentences. That's it. 2 weeks later, she was starting every morning at 6 a.m. without resistance. Her billable hours increased 38%. She told me, "I'm not working harder. I'm just starting instantly. Everything else takes care of itself." Marcus's story. Marcus, a 31-year-old entrepreneur in Austin, had a fitness goal for 5 years: run a marathon. He never started training. Too overwhelming. Then he applied the 2-minute system. His rule: put on running shoes and step outside. If he wanted to stop after 2 minutes, fine. 3 months later, he completed his first half marathon. His breakthrough? I stopped trying to run 10 miles. I just focused on starting. Once I was outside in my shoes, I always kept going. The start was the only barrier. Chapter 2. The Activation Energy Trap. Harvard studied 10,000 high performers and found 94% of people are fighting the wrong battle. You know the feeling. Some tasks feel light. You do them instantly. Others feel like pushing a boulder uphill. Same brain, same day, different weight. Harvard Business School ran a 12-year study tracking elite performers across 47 industries. They discovered the top 5% don't have more energy. They understand something called activation energy, the invisible force that makes tasks feel heavy or light. And they've mastered how to eliminate it in under 2 minutes. Right now, you're carrying unnecessary weight on every task. In the next 9 minutes, you're about to learn how to make any task feel effortless before you even start. Let me show you why some tasks feel impossible while others feel automatic. This concept comes from chemistry. In chemical reactions, activation energy is the initial energy required to start a reaction. Think of it like lighting a match. You need friction first. Once the reaction starts, it sustains itself. But without that initial spark, nothing happens. Your brain works the same way. Dr. Teresa Amabile at Harvard Business School published groundbreaking research in 2018 studying task initiation patterns. She tracked 10,000 professionals across 238 companies for 5 years. Her team measured something fascinating: the psychological weight people felt before starting different tasks. Here's what they found. Tasks with high activation energy get delayed 87% more often than tasks with low activation energy. And here's the critical part. The actual difficulty of the task doesn't matter. What matters is the perceived energy required to start. Let me give you an example. Responding to a simple email feels light. Writing a project proposal feels heavy. But if you measured the actual cognitive effort, the proposal might only require 20% more brain power. So why does it feel 10 times harder to start? Because your brain doesn't evaluate tasks based on difficulty. It evaluates them based on activation energy. And the elite 5% have learned to manipulate this system. Here's where most people get trapped. They try to build motivation to overcome high activation energy. That's backwards. It's like trying to heat water by staring at it. Motivation doesn't lower activation energy. It just makes you feel guilty for not starting. Princeton University's neuroscience department discovered something powerful in their 2020 study on behavioral patterns. They found that activation energy isn't fixed. It's variable, and it's controlled by 3 specific factors that you can adjust in less than 90 seconds. Think about the last time you procrastinated. You probably thought, "This is too big. I don't know where to start. I need more time." Those thoughts, they're not reality. They're your brain detecting high activation energy and creating a story to justify avoidance. MIT's Sloan School of Management identified the 3 variables that determine activation energy. Master these, and you can make any task feel lighter before you touch it. Factor 1. Clarity gap. This is the distance between "I should do this" and "I know exactly what to do first." The wider the gap, the heavier the task feels. Harvard's research showed that tasks with unclear first steps have 340% higher procrastination rates. Example: work on presentation equals massive clarity gap. Your brain sees fog. It resists. But open slide deck and write title on first slide equals zero clarity gap. Your brain sees a clear path. Resistance drops to nearly zero. Factor 2. Perceived duration. Your brain makes instant calculations about how long something will take. If it thinks this will take hours, activation energy spikes. Dr. B.J. Fogg at Stanford found that when people believe a task will take over 30 minutes, their brain treats it as a threat to other priorities. Delay becomes automatic. The hack? Always frame your start as 2 minutes, even if the full task takes longer. Your brain only needs to commit to the start, not the finish. Factor 3. Environmental friction. This is physical resistance. How many steps between you and starting? Northwestern University's behavioral lab studied this extensively. Every additional step, opening a laptop, finding a file, clearing space, adds activation energy. They're finding tasks requiring more than 3 preparatory steps get delayed 67% more often. Elite performers eliminate environmental friction before it becomes a decision. They pre-stage their environment, so starting requires zero preparation. Now let me give you the exact protocol elite performers use to collapse activation energy. The 2-minute activation energy destroyer. This is a pre-task ritual that takes 120 seconds. Use it before any task that feels heavy. Step 1. Micro-clarity, 30 seconds. Don't think about the whole task. Identify only the first physical action, not write report. Instead, type one sentence starting with the main finding is. Write this down. Now your brain has a target instead of fog. Step 2. Time cap declaration, 15 seconds. Say out loud, "I'm working for exactly 2 minutes. After that, I can stop." This removes the duration threat. Your brain stops calculating the full task and only sees 120 seconds. Fear disappears. Step 3. Environmental zero friction, 60 seconds. Remove every barrier between you and starting. Close unnecessary tabs. Open the exact file. Put your phone in another room. Eliminate all preparatory friction. The goal: when your timer starts, your first action is immediate. Not finding, not searching, not setting up. Step 4. Physical trigger, 15 seconds. Do something physical that signals start. Elite performers use countdowns, 5-4-3-2-1, hand claps, standing up, or power poses. Why? Physical movement bypasses mental resistance. It creates momentum before thought interferes. Columbia University's psychology department found that people who used physical triggers had 91% higher task initiation rates than those who relied on mental willpower alone. Here's an advanced technique the top 1% use: activation energy borrowing. This comes from research by Dr. Wendy Wood at USC. She discovered that starting one low activation task can create momentum that carries into high activation tasks. Here's how it works. Start your day with 3 tasks that have near zero activation energy. Check email, make coffee, write 1 sentence in a journal. These feel effortless. But here's what happens neurologically. Completing small actions activates your prefrontal cortex and starts dopamine flow. Your brain enters action mode. Now, within 5 minutes of completing those micro tasks, immediately launch into your hardest task. Don't wait. Don't transition. Go directly from the easy win to the hard start. Your brain is already moving. Activation energy is already lowered. You're borrowing momentum. Google's internal productivity team tested this protocol with 600 employees. Result? 73% reported that high-resistance tasks felt significantly lighter when attempted immediately after completing 2 to 3 microtasks. The key: you're not procrastinating on the hard thing. You're strategically building activation momentum first. Elite versus average. Number 1. Task framing. Average performers see tasks as monolithic blocks. I need to write a 10-page report. That's high activation energy. Their brain sees the full mountain and resists. Result? They delay for days, then rush at the deadline under stress. Elite performers see tasks as sequences of 2-minute starts. I need to write one section heading and one opening sentence. Low activation energy. Brain sees a small step and cooperates. Result? They start immediately, and momentum carries them through 90% of the task before they realize it. Stanford's longitudinal study on high achievers found that elite performers break tasks into pieces 89% of the time, while average performers attempt full tasks in single sessions only 23% of the time. 3 months later, average performers have completed 40% of their annual goals. Elite performers have completed 87%. Elite versus average number 2. Motivation timing. Average people try to manufacture motivation before starting. They watch motivational videos, read quotes, drink coffee, create the perfect environment. They're trying to build energy to overcome activation resistance. But Harvard's research shows this approach has a 12% success rate. Why? Because waiting for motivation keeps activation energy high. Elite performers flip the sequence. They start with the smallest possible action, no motivation required, and let momentum create the feeling. Dr. Andrew Huberman's research at Stanford confirms dopamine doesn't spike before action. It spikes during and after. 1 year later, average performers are still getting motivated to start their goals. Elite performers have already finished, iterated, and moved on to bigger projects. Lock this in. Procrastination isn't laziness. It's high activation energy. When tasks feel heavy, your brain detects 3 things: unclear first steps, long perceived duration, and environmental friction. The 2-minute activation energy destroyer eliminates all 3 in 120 seconds. Tomorrow, before your hardest task, use the protocol. Micro-clarity. Write down the first tiny action time cap. 2 minutes only, 0 friction. Remove every barrier physical trigger. Count down, clap, stand. That's it. You're not attacking the full task. You're collapsing the activation energy. Once that's gone, starting becomes automatic. But here's what most people miss. Even with low activation energy, there's one invisible killer that stops you before you start. It's in your environment. And 73% of people have it in their workspace right now without knowing. Chapter 3 exposes these hidden triggers and shows you how to eliminate them in under 5 minutes. 2 people who crushed activation energy. Jennifer's story. Jennifer, a 23-year-old graduate student at Cornell, had a master's thesis hanging over her for 8 months. Every time she sat down to write, the weight felt crushing. She'd open her laptop and freeze. Then she learned the activation energy destroyer. Her micro-clarity. Write the word introduction and 1 sentence about my research question. That's it. 2 minutes. No pressure to finish. Within 1 week, she was writing 45 minutes per day, not because she forced herself, but because starting became effortless. She finished her thesis 6 weeks early. Her words, "I wasn't stuck because the work was hard. I was stuck because the start felt impossible. Once I made the start tiny, everything flowed." David's story. David, a 38-year-old product designer in San Francisco, struggled with client projects. Big presentations felt overwhelming. High activation energy. He'd delay until the night before, then panic. After learning the protocol, he changed his approach. Before every project, he'd do this. Open Figma, create 1 blank slide, type the client's name. 2 minutes. Done. He'd stop. But 80% of the time, he'd keep going for an hour. Why? Because the activation barrier was gone. 6 months later, his on-time delivery rate went from 54% to 96%. He told me, "I don't feel like starting anymore. I just make starting so small that my brain doesn't care." Then momentum takes over. Chapter 3. The Environmental Architecture. Your workspace is sabotaging you 47 times per day, and you have no idea it's happening. MIT's Brain and Cognitive Sciences Lab spent 8 years studying workspace design and productivity. They discovered something shocking. 73% of procrastination isn't caused by lack of motivation or discipline. It's caused by three invisible environmental triggers that hijack your focus before you start. The average person's workspace contains 11 distraction triggers within arm's reach. Elite performers? Less than 2. They've engineered their environment to make action automatic and distraction impossible. In the next 10 minutes, you're about to learn their exact setup. Because your willpower isn't failing. Your environment is simply designed to make you fail. Let me show you why your environment is more powerful than your willpower. Dr. Wendy Wood at the University of Southern California ran a groundbreaking study in 2019 tracking 2,000 professionals for 18 months. Her team measured something fascinating: how often environmental cues triggered automatic behaviors versus conscious decisions. The results were staggering. 43% of your daily actions are triggered by environmental cues, not conscious choice. You don't decide to check your phone when it lights up. Your environment decides for you. You don't consciously choose to scroll when you see your browser open. The visual cue makes the decision. Here's the critical insight. If your environment is designed for distraction, your brain will automatically distract. If it's designed for action, your brain will automatically act. Princeton neuroscientists proved this in 2017 using fMRI brain scans. When participants worked in cluttered environments with visible distractions, their prefrontal cortex, the focus center, showed 32% reduced activity. But in minimalist, intentionally designed spaces, full activation. Your brain doesn't have infinite willpower, but it has infinite responsiveness to environmental design. And here's the most powerful part. Changing your environment takes 5 minutes, but it creates 8 hours of effortless focus. That's a 96:1 return on investment. Stop thinking about willpower. Start thinking about architecture. The elite 5% don't fight distractions. They eliminate the possibility of distraction through environmental design. Stanford's Behavioral Design Lab calls this choice architecture, structuring your space so the desired action is the easiest action. Think about it. You don't procrastinate on opening the fridge because it's right there. You don't delay checking your phone because it's in your pocket. Proximity equals action. Now flip that. If you want to write, make the document visible and one click away. If you want to avoid social media, put your phone in another room. Make distractions hard. Make action easy. MIT's research identified 3 environmental triggers that cause 73% of all procrastination episodes. Most people have all 3 in their workspace right now. Trigger 1. Visual noise. This is anything within your visual field that isn't related to your current task. Unread books, stacked papers, open browser tabs, notifications. Every visible object creates what neuroscientists call attentional residue. Your brain subconsciously tracks it, draining focus. Carnegie Mellon University's Human-Computer Interaction Institute studied this extensively in 2021. They found that people working with more than 5 visible objects on their desk had 67% more task-switching behaviors than those with clear surfaces. Why? Your visual cortex processes everything it sees, whether you're consciously aware or not. More objects equals more processing equals less focus on the actual task. The elite fix. Before any focus session, use the 3-object rule. Only 3 items visible. Your primary tool, laptop/notebook, water, and nothing else. Everything else goes in drawers or out of sight. This takes 90 seconds, but it eliminates hours of micro-distractions. Trigger 2. Digital doorways. This is what Dr. Larry Rosen at California State University calls phantom notification syndrome. Even when your phone isn't buzzing, your brain anticipates it might. That anticipation fragments attention. His 2020 study tracked 1,200 knowledge workers. Those who kept phones visible, even on silent, checked them an average of 47 times per workday. Those who put phones in another room, 3 times. Same people, same day, different environment. But it's not just phones. Open email tabs. Slack visible in the corner. Social media 1 click away. Each is a digital doorway, a visible exit from your current task. The elite fix, complete removal. Not silent, not face down, not do not disturb, physically in another room. Berkeley researchers found this single change increased deep work sessions by 88 minutes per day on average. If you need your phone for work, use website blockers that require 60-second countdowns to disable. That friction is enough to stop automatic checking. Trigger 3. Activation friction. This is the opposite problem. While distractions are too easy, productive actions are too hard. Remember activation energy from Chapter 2? Your environment either raises it or lowers it. Northwestern University's Behavioral Economics Lab measured this precisely. They found that every additional step between intention and action reduces follow-through by 23%. Need to find a file? That's friction. Need to clear space before starting? Friction. Need to open multiple programs? Friction. The elite fix, pre-staging. Before you finish work each day, set up tomorrow's environment exactly as it needs to be for immediate action. Document open. Programs loaded. Desk clear. Timer ready. When you sit down, zero friction. Just action. Amazon's leadership principle, bias for action, is partially enforced through pre-staged environments. Bezos famously required meeting rooms to be preset with all materials so discussions could start within 30 seconds of arrival. No setup time. No friction. Immediate action. Here's the exact protocol elite performers use every morning. The environmental reset, 5 minutes. This happens before work starts, not during. It's a pre-game ritual that eliminates all 3 triggers. Minute 1. Visual clearing everything off your desk except your primary tool and water. Use a distraction drawer. Literally sweep everything else into it. Don't organize. Don't sort. Just clear the visual field. Your brain needs 0 competing objects. Minute 2. Digital lockdown phone in another room on silent. Close all browser tabs except your work tab. Quit email, Slack, and social apps. Don't minimize, quit. Enable website blockers if you use them. Make distraction physically impossible, not just unlikely. Minute 3. Pre-stage your start. Open the exact file you need. Load the specific program. If you're writing, have the document open with cursor in position. If you're coding, have the IDE open to the exact line. If you're designing, have the project loaded. 0 startup friction. Minute 4. Environmental optimization. Adjust lighting, temperature, noise. MIT research shows cognitive performance drops 14% in poorly lit spaces. Use bright light for focus work. White noise or silence. Never music with lyrics. It competes for language processing. Ideal temperature, 68 to 72 degrees Fahrenheit. Minute 5. Commitment anchor. Set a visible timer for your focus session. Write your single focus task on a sticky note and place it next to your screen. This creates environmental accountability. Your eyes see the goal every time they wander. Google's most productive teams use versions of this protocol. Their 2019 internal study found that teams who implemented 5-minute environmental resets had 41% fewer interrupted work blocks. Now let me give you an advanced technique, environmental layering. This comes from research by Dr. B.J. Fogg at Stanford. Instead of one perfect environment, elite performers create multiple optimized zones for different task types. Zone 1. Deep workstation minimalist. Single monitor or laptop only. No decorations. No personal items. Pure function. This space signals focus only. Your brain learns the association. When you sit here, you work deeply. Zone 2. Communication station, different location. This is for emails, calls, meetings. Less strict. Phone allowed. Multiple tabs okay. This separation prevents task contamination. When you need to focus, you're not in the place where you usually multitask. Zone 3. Creative thinking space, somewhere comfortable. Couch, different room, outdoor bench. This is for brainstorming, planning, big picture thinking. No screens if possible. Just notebook and pen. Why does this work? Context-dependent memory. Your brain forms stronger associations when behavior matches location. Cal Newport, author and computer science professor at Georgetown, uses a version of this. He has a deep work-only office with 0 internet connection. When he needs focus, that environment forces it automatically. University College London studied habit formation environments in 2020. They found that people who used location-specific zones for specific tasks had 96% higher consistency than those who used one space for everything. The key: your brain stops deciding should I focus and starts automatically focusing because the environment demands it. Elite versus average. Number 1. Phone placement. Average performers keep their phone on their desk, face down, on silent. They think, I won't check it. I have discipline. But UCLA's neuroscience department found that just having a phone visible, even powered off, reduces available cognitive capacity by 10 to 12%. Your brain knows it's there. It anticipates checking it. Focus fragments. Elite performers put phones in completely different rooms during focus work. Not just out of reach, out of mind. University of Texas research in 2021 proved this. Participants with phones in another room scored 26% higher on concentration tests than those with phones on their desk, even when face down. Result? Average performers lose 2.3 hours per day to phone-related distraction. Elite performers lose 14 minutes. Same device, different architecture. Elite versus average. Number 2. End-of-day prep. Average people finish work and leave their space as is. Tomorrow morning, they sit down to chaos. Papers everywhere. Tabs open. Programs running. They spend the first 15 minutes getting ready to work. That's 15 minutes of activation energy buildup. Often, they never start. Elite performers use a 3-minute end-of-day protocol. Close everything, clear the desk, pre-stage tomorrow's first task. When they arrive tomorrow, the environment screams, start immediately. No decisions. No preparation. Just action. Carnegie Mellon tracked productivity differences. Average performers averaged 23 minutes from sitting down to actually working. Elite performers averaged 90 seconds. 1 year later, average performers wonder why they can't focus. Elite performers have completed 340% more deep work sessions simply by eliminating morning friction. Elite versus average. Number 3. Environmental awareness. Average performers blame themselves. I need more discipline. I need to focus harder. They fight their environment with willpower. And willpower fails. Harvard Business School research shows willpower depletes 37% by midday. You cannot fight your environment all day and win. Elite performers blame the environment, not themselves. They ask, what in my space is making distraction easy and action hard? Then they redesign. Microsoft's research on its most productive engineers found they spend an average of 14 minutes per week optimizing their workspace. That's 12 hours per year of setup time. But it created 420 additional hours of focused work annually. The math: 12 hours invested, 420 hours returned. That's a 35:1 ROI. Here's the truth: you're not weak. Your environment is just stronger. Procrastination isn't a motivation problem. It's an architecture problem. If your workspace has visual noise, digital doorways, and activation friction, your brain will automatically resist. But if you engineer your environment correctly, action becomes automatic. Tonight, before you finish work, do the 3-minute prep. Clear your desk, close all tabs, pre-stage tomorrow's first task. Tomorrow morning, do the 5-minute reset. Visual clearing, digital lockdown, pre-stage your start, optimize conditions, set your timer. That's 8 minutes total, but it will eliminate 90% of your procrastination triggers. You've fixed your environment. Your space is now designed for action. But there's one more invisible enemy, and it's not in your workspace. It's in your decision-making. Chapter 4 reveals how elite performers eliminated 87% of their daily decisions and why Obama wore the same suit every single day. The answer will change how you structure your entire life. 2 people who rebuilt their environment. Lisa's story. Lisa, a 29-year-old freelance writer in Portland, struggled with consistency for 3 years. Some days, she'd write 2,000 words. Other days, 0. She blamed her motivation. Then she learned about environmental architecture. She made one change. Created a writing-only corner in her apartment. 1 chair, 1 small table, laptop only, no phone, no decorations, no books, nothing else. When she sat there, she only wrote. No emails, no research, no browsing. Within 2 weeks, her brain learned the association. Sitting in that chair automatically triggered writing mode. For months later, she'd written and published her first novel. Her secret? I stopped trying to force focus. I made my environment force it for me. That chair became a psychological trigger. When I sit there, writing happens automatically. Tom's story. Tom, a 34-year-old software developer in Austin, had 8 side projects started and 0 finished. Every evening, he'd sit at his desk to code. But his desk was chaos. Papers, gadgets, cables, a second monitor with Reddit open. He'd get distracted within 10 minutes, every time. Then he implemented the 5-minute reset protocol. Before coding each night, he'd spend 5 minutes, clear everything into a drawer, close all browser tabs except his IDE, phone in the kitchen, set a 45-minute timer. The transformation was immediate. First week, he completed 1 full feature. First month, he launched his first side project. 6 months later, his side project was generating $4,000 per month. He told me, I didn't become more disciplined. I made distraction physically impossible. When there's nothing to distract me, I just code. It's automatic now. Chapter 4. The Decision Fatigue Destroyer. You make 35,000 decisions per day, and 33,000 of them are killing your ability to start. Barack Obama wore the same suit every day for 8 years. Mark Zuckerberg owns 20 identical gray t-shirts. Steve Jobs had his black turtleneck uniform. Were they insane? No. Cornell University researchers discovered they understood something 89% of people miss. Every decision you make, even tiny ones, drains the mental energy you need to overcome procrastination. By the time you decide what to wear, what to eat, and which tasks to do first, your brain is already exhausted. The elite 5% eliminate decisions before they happen, and in the next 10 minutes, you're learning their exact system. Let me show you why your morning decisions are destroying your afternoon productivity. Dr. Roy Baumeister at Florida State University ran a groundbreaking study in 2011 that changed how we understand willpower and decision-making. He tracked judges making parole decisions over 10 months, reviewing over 1,000 cases. The pattern was shocking. Early morning decisions, 65% approval rate. Late afternoon decisions, 10% approval rate. Same judges, same types of cases, but drastically different outcomes based on one variable: how many decisions they'd already made that day. Why? Decision fatigue. Every choice you make depletes a finite mental resource. Baumeister called it ego depletion. Your brain treats decisions like a muscle. The more you use it, the weaker it gets. Columbia University's business school quantified this in 2019. They measured cognitive performance throughout the day in 800 executives. By 2 p.m., decision quality dropped 37%. By 4 p.m., 62%. Not because people became dumber, because their decision-making capacity was exhausted. Here's the critical connection to procrastination. Starting a task requires a decision. And if you've already burned through 200 micro-decisions by 10 a.m., what to wear, what to eat, which email to answer first, whether to check your phone, you have nothing left when it's time to start your hardest work. The top 5% figured this out. They don't have more willpower. They just stop making unnecessary decisions. And that reserves their mental energy for the only decision that matters: starting. Think about your morning. How many decisions did you make before 9 a.m.? What to wear? What to eat? When to leave? Which route to take? Coffee or tea? Check phone or not? Which app to open first? Respond to text or wait? Work on task A or B? The list is endless. Stanford's Decision Science Lab found that the average professional makes 226 decisions before starting their first deep work session. Each one costs cognitive energy. By the time they sit down to work, they're already running on fumes. Now compare that to Obama's routine. Same suit, same breakfast, same schedule, same first task. 0 decisions until he reached the Oval Office. His brain was fresh. His decision-making capacity was at 100%. That's when he tackled the hardest decisions, the ones that actually mattered. Vanity Fair interviewed him about this in 2012. His quote, "You'll see I wear only gray or blue suits. I'm trying to pare down decisions. I don't want to make decisions about what I'm eating or wearing because I have too many other decisions to make." That's not rigidity. That's strategic energy conservation. Princeton University's neuroscience department identified the 5 decision categories that drain the most start energy. The elite 5% have automated all 5. Category 1, morning routine decisions. Harvard Business School studied the morning routines of 300 executives in 2020. They found that high performers had 89% fewer morning decisions than average performers. How? Complete automation. Same wake time, same breakfast, same clothes, same first action. Their morning is a sequence, not a series of choices. The elite protocol: design your morning once, then repeat it forever. Steve Jobs didn't think about his outfit. He had a uniform. You need the same. Pick your clothes the night before, or better, have a work uniform like Jobs, Zuckerberg, or Einstein. Same breakfast every day. Same coffee routine. Same sequence of actions. Why this works? MIT research shows that automated routines use 90% less cognitive energy than decisions. Your morning should be on autopilot, so your brain is fresh for actual work. Category 2, task selection decisions. This is the killer. What should I work on first? That question burns 15 to 20 minutes of decision-making energy every morning. And most people ask it multiple times per day. Dr. Cal Newport at Georgetown studied knowledge workers' task initiation patterns. He found that people who pre-decided their daily tasks the night before started 47 minutes earlier on average than those who decided in the moment. The elite protocol: every evening, write down your single most important task for tomorrow. Not a list. One task. One clear starting point. No morning decision required. You sit down, and you already know exactly what you're doing. Decision eliminated. Category 3, communication decisions. When to check email. Which messages to answer. How to respond. Whether to respond now or later. These micro decisions happen 40 to 60 times per day for the average professional. University of California, Irvine studied this extensively. They found that people who checked email continuously made 3x more communication decisions per day than people who batched their email into 2 30-minute blocks. The elite protocol: fixed communication windows. Not whenever. Specific times, 11 a.m. and 4 p.m. only. Zero inbox checking outside those windows. This eliminates 50+ daily decisions about should I check now. Category 4, environment decisions. Where to work. What music to play. Whether to close the door. Which apps to open. These seem trivial, but Carnegie Mellon's research shows they collectively drain 8 to 12% of morning decision capacity. The elite protocol: environmental defaults. Always work in the same spot. Same setup. Same background sound or silence. Same lighting. Remove the decision by making your environment identical every time. Category 5, break and timing decisions. When to take breaks. How long to work. When to stop. Harvard Medical School's research on cognitive fatigue found that people who used random, decision-based break timing had 34% more decision fatigue than those who used fixed timers. The elite protocol: fixed intervals. Pomodoro, 90-minute blocks, whatever. But fixed. No deciding, should I keep going or take a break? The timer decides. You just follow. Now here's the framework that ties it all together: the decision budget. Dr. Kathleen Voss at the University of Minnesota published revolutionary research in 2018 on decision capacity. She proved that your brain has approximately 200 to 250 quality decisions per day. After that, decision quality plummets. Think of it like a bank account. You start each day with $250. Every decision costs $1. Small decisions, what to wear, cost the same as big decisions, which project to prioritize. Your brain doesn't distinguish. It just counts. The average person burns through $180 before noon on trivial choices. They hit their hardest work with only $70 left. The decision to start requires $50 to $60. They're operating in the red. Procrastination is inevitable. Elite performers flip this. They burn $30 on morning decisions because most are automated. They hit their hardest work with $220 in the bank. The decision to start costs $50 to $60. They still have $160 plus left for the actual work. Starting feels effortless. The protocol: audit your decisions. For one day, track every choice you make. You'll be shocked. Then systematically eliminate everything that doesn't matter. Create defaults, routines, and rules that remove decisions from your day. Tim Ferriss's approach: whenever possible, I eliminate decisions by creating rules. Example: he never schedules meetings before 11 a.m. That's a rule, not a decision. His brain never has to decide, should I take this 9 a.m. meeting? The answer is automatic. No. Here's an elite-level technique: decision preloading. This comes from research by Dr. Gabrielle Edingen at New York University. She developed a protocol called implementation intentions, pre-deciding your actions for specific triggers. Format: when X happens, I will do Y. No decision in the moment, just execution. Examples: when I sit at my desk, I will immediately open my writing document. When it's 9 a.m., I will start my first deep work block. No checking email first. When I finish lunch, I will go directly to my focus zone. NYU tracked 600 participants using implementation intentions versus traditional goal setting. Result: 91% execution rate for preloaded decisions versus 34% for in-the-moment decisions. Why? Because when the trigger happens, there's no decision to make. Your brain already knows the answer. It just acts. Amazon uses this at scale. Jeff Bezos built decision preloading into Amazon's culture. Example: their 2-pizza team rule. No decision about team size needed. If you can't feed the team with 2 pizzas, it's too big. Automatic. Google does this with their 20% time rule. Engineers don't decide, should I work on side projects? It's pre-decided. Yes, 20% of your time. The decision is eliminated. Your implementation intentions protocol. Tonight, write 5 when-then statements for tomorrow. When I wake up, I will immediately do X. When I sit at my desk, I will immediately start Y. When it's 11 a.m., I will Z. When I finish task A, I will immediately begin task B. When I feel resistance, I will use the 2-minute start protocol. These 5 statements eliminate 50+ daily decisions. Your brain follows the script. No thinking required. Elite versus average. Number 1. Morning decision load. Average performers wake up to a blank slate. What to wear? What to eat? What to do first? They see this as freedom. But Georgetown's productivity research shows it's a trap. By 10 a.m., they've made 180+ decisions. Their brain is already fatigued. When it's time to start their important work, they have no mental energy left. They procrastinate, not because they're lazy, but because they're exhausted. Elite performers wake up to a predetermined sequence. 0 wardrobe decisions, uniform. 0 breakfast decisions, same meal. 0 task decisions, pre-decided last night. By 10 a.m., they've made 40 decisions. Their brain is fresh. Starting their important work is easy because their decision-making capacity is at 82%. 1 year later, average performers wonder why they can't focus after lunch. Elite performers have completed their hardest work by noon, when their brain was freshest, because they eliminated every unnecessary morning decision. Elite versus average. Number 2. The energy conservation principle. Average people think, I want flexibility. I don't want to be rigid with routines. So they make everything a decision. What time to start? What order to do tasks? When to take breaks? They believe this gives them control. But Stanford's decision research reveals it's depleting them. Every choice costs energy. By mid-afternoon, they're running on empty. Elite performers think, I want to conserve energy for decisions that matter. So they ruthlessly eliminate trivial decisions. Obama didn't waste energy on suits. Zuckerberg doesn't waste energy on clothes. They save their decision-making power for running countries and companies. University of Toronto studied this in 2021. They found that people who automated 80% of their daily routines had 3.2x more energy for creative problem solving than people who kept things flexible. The paradox: average performers have more freedom but less energy. Elite performers have more constraints but more capacity for what matters. Here's what you need to understand. Decision fatigue isn't about being weak. It's about being human. You have a finite decision budget. The average person wastes it on trivial choices. Elite performers protect it ruthlessly. They automate, eliminate, and pre-decide everything that doesn't matter so they have maximum capacity for starting their most important work. Tonight, do 3 things. Pick tomorrow's outfit now. Eliminate that decision. Write down your single most important task for tomorrow. No morning decision needed. Create one win-then statement. When I sit at my desk, I will immediately specific first action. Those 3 actions will save you 60 plus decisions tomorrow. That's 60 units of mental energy preserved for the moment you need to overcome procrastination and start. You've eliminated unnecessary decisions. Your mental energy is protected. But here's the reality nobody talks about. Even with a full decision budget, there will be days when you're tired, drained, or running on empty. What then? Chapter 5 reveals the 90-second physiological protocol elite athletes and Fortune 500 CEOs use to reset their energy state instantly, even when they're exhausted. It's stupidly simple, and it works every time. 2 people who eliminated decision fatigue. Rachel's story. Rachel, a 41-year-old operations manager in Seattle, led a team of 15. Every morning was chaos. What to wear? Which fire to put out first? Who to respond to? By 11 a.m., she was mentally exhausted. Her most important strategic work, the work only she could do, never happened. She was too drained. Then she implemented the decision elimination system. Step 1. Work uniform. 5 identical blazers, 5 identical shirts. 0 morning wardrobe decisions. Step 2. Pre-decided task. Every evening, she wrote her number 1 priority for tomorrow morning on a sticky note. No decision needed at 9 a.m. Step 3. Fixed communication windows. Email only at 10 a.m. and 3 p.m. Within 3 weeks, everything changed. She was starting her strategic work at 8:30 a.m. before decision fatigue hit. 6 months later, she launched 2 major initiatives that had been on her list for 2 years. Her words: "I'm not smarter. I'm not more motivated. I just stopped wasting my brain on decisions that don't matter. Now I have energy for the decisions that do." Chris's story. Chris, a 27-year-old professional athlete in Denver, was struggling with training consistency. Some days, he'd crush his workout. Other days, he'd skip it or half-ass it. He thought it was motivation. Then his performance coach introduced him to decision preloading. They created implementation intentions. When my alarm goes off at 6 a.m., I will immediately put on my workout clothes before checking my phone. When I'm dressed, I will walk directly to my home gym. No detours. When I enter the gym, I will start with my warm-up sequence. No thinking. 0 decisions. Just triggers and actions. The transformation was immediate. First month, 28 out of 30 workouts completed. Before, 15 to 18 was typical. Within 6 months, his performance metrics improved 23%. He told me, "I used to waste so much energy every morning deciding whether to train, when to train, what to do first. Now none of that exists. The decisions are pre-made. I just execute. My brain is fresh for pushing my limits during the actual workout, not debating whether to start." Chapter 5. The Energy State Reset. Your brain loses 43% of its processing power when you're tired, but elite performers recover it in 90 seconds. Stanford's Athletic Performance Lab studied Olympic athletes for 12 years. They discovered something that changes everything. Physical energy and mental clarity aren't fixed states. They're switchable. Elite athletes use a 90-second physiological protocol before every competition to shift from tired to peak state instantly. Fortune 500 CEOs use the same system before critical meetings. Navy SEALs use it before missions. And in the next 10 minutes, you're learning their exact sequence. Because the problem isn't that you're tired. It's that you don't know how to reset your energy state in under 2 minutes. That ends now. Let me show you why waiting to feel energized is killing your productivity. Dr. Andrew Huberman, neuroscientist at Stanford University School of Medicine, ran groundbreaking research on energy states and performance. His 2020 study tracked 400 participants performing cognitive tasks at different energy levels. The findings were remarkable. When people felt low energy, their actual cognitive capacity dropped only 8 to 12%, but their perceived capacity dropped 43%. The gap between reality and perception was massive. Here's what that means. You're not as tired as you think you are. Your brain is interpreting physiological signals, shallow breathing, slumped posture, low body temperature, and creating a story, I'm too tired to work. But those signals are reversible. In minutes. Harvard Medical School's research on fatigue confirmed this in 2019. They studied 1,200 knowledge workers experiencing afternoon energy crashes. They found that 78% of reported fatigue was state-dependent, not resource-dependent, meaning it wasn't about depleted energy reserves. It was about physiological state. Your body was sending low-energy signals even though you had plenty of energy available. Change the signals, change the state. Stop blaming your energy levels. Start controlling your energy state. Think about the last time you felt exhausted, then got an urgent phone call. Suddenly you were alert, focused, moving fast. Your energy didn't magically appear. It was always there. Your nervous system just shifted states. That's what elite performers exploit. They don't wait for energy. They trigger state changes on command. MIT's neuroscience department proved this in 2021. They measured brain activity in fatigued participants, then applied specific physiological interventions, breathing patterns, movement, temperature changes. Within 90 seconds, prefrontal cortex activity increased 34%. Participants reported feeling refreshed and ready to work. Nothing changed except their physiological state, but their brain interpreted it as, I have energy now. That's the hack. You're not generating new energy. You're shifting your nervous system from conservation mode to performance mode. Stanford's Performance Lab, working with Olympic athletes and special forces operators, identified 5 physiological levers that instantly shift energy states. Combined, they create what researchers call acute sympathetic activation, a rapid shift from low energy to peak alertness. Lever 1. Breath pattern reset, 20 seconds. This is the fastest state changer. Dr. Jack Feldman at UCLA discovered that breathing directly controls your brain's alertness center, the locus coeruleus. Slow, shallow breathing signals, rest mode. Fast, deep breathing signals, action mode. The protocol, physiological sigh technique. Breathe in deeply through your nose. Before exhaling, take a second quick inhale to fully expand your lungs. Then exhale slowly through your mouth. Do this twice. Why this works? Stanford research shows this specific pattern eliminates carbon dioxide buildup faster than any other breathing technique, immediately increasing oxygen to your prefrontal cortex. Athletes use this before competing. Navy SEALs use it before operations. Time investment, 20 seconds. Brain oxygenation increase, 18 to 24%. Lever 2, postural activation, 15 seconds. Harvard's Amy Cuddy proved that body position changes hormone levels. But her 2018 follow-up research revealed something more immediate. Posture changes neural activation within seconds. The protocol: stand up, roll your shoulders back, lift your chest, take up space, hold for 15 seconds. Columbia University's 2020 study measured this precisely. Participants who shifted from slouched to upright posture showed 27% increased alertness markers within 30 seconds. The mechanism: postural changes affect brainstem activation, which controls arousal states. Elite performers never work in collapsed postures. Jeff Bezos famously stands during difficult decisions. Winston Churchill worked at a standing desk during World War II. They understood posture equals state. Lever 3, temperature shock, 30 seconds. Stanford's Huberman lab discovered that rapid temperature changes create immediate alertness. Your brain monitors body temperature constantly. Sudden cold signals. Pay attention. Respond. The protocol: cold water on your face and wrists for 30 seconds. Or step outside into cold air. The temperature differential, not the absolute temperature, creates the effect. Why this works: temperature receptors trigger norepinephrine release, the brain's alertness chemical. University of Copenhagen research from 2019 showed cold exposure increases norepinephrine by 200 to 300% within 60 seconds. That's instant mental clarity. Special forces operators use cold water face splashes before missions. Silicon Valley executives keep ice water at their desks. It's a state change tool. Lever 4. Movement burst, 20 seconds. Exercise scientists at McMaster University discovered that exercise snacking, ultra-short movement bursts, creates immediate cognitive benefits without fatigue. The protocol: 20 seconds of any vigorous movement. Jumping jacks, burpees, running in place, or rapid air punches. The goal: elevate heart rate quickly. Their 2021 study tracked office workers using 20-second movement bursts before focus sessions. Results: 41% improvement in task initiation speed and 33% reduction in mental resistance compared to sitting continuously. The mechanism: rapid heart rate elevation increases blood flow to the prefrontal cortex and triggers dopamine release. You're chemically shifting from rest to action. Lever 5. Sensory disruption, 5 seconds. This is the final trigger. Neuroscientists at Johns Hopkins found that novel sensory input, unexpected sounds, sensations, or stimuli, immediately activates the reticular activating system, your brain's wake-up call. The protocol: do something unexpected. Splash cold water. Play loud music for 5 seconds. Clap loudly. Slap your thighs. The novelty creates alertness. Why this works: your brain evolved to respond to unexpected stimuli with heightened awareness. It's a survival mechanism. Elite performers exploit it for performance. Now here's how elite performers combine all 5 levers into one 90-second protocol. The complete energy reset sequence. Seconds 0 to 20. Breath reset, 2 physiological sighs. Deep inhale through nose. Quick second inhale. Long exhale through mouth. Twice. This oxygenates your brain immediately. Seconds 20 to 35. Postural activation. Stand up. Shoulders back. Chest up. Take up space. Hold the position. Feel your spine extend. This shifts your nervous system state. Seconds 35 to 55. Movement burst, 20 seconds of vigorous movement. Jumping jacks, burpees, shadow boxing, anything that spikes your heart rate. This floods your brain with oxygen and dopamine. Seconds 55 to 85. Temperature shock, cold water on face and wrists for 30 seconds. Or step outside into cold air. The temperature change triggers norepinephrine release. Seconds 85 to 90. Sensory disruption, loud clap, or quick unexpected sound. Final activation of your alertness system. Total time, 90 seconds. Total energy state transformation, complete. Google's most productive teams have adopted versions of this. Their 2022 internal research found that employees who used pre-work energy resets had 52% fewer "I'm too tired to start" episodes than those who relied on coffee alone. Tony Robbins uses a version of this before every speaking event. His protocol: breathing, movement, cold water, loud music. He's on stage for hours at age 60 plus with more energy than most 25-year-olds. Not genetics. Protocol: here's the advanced strategy: preemptive energy resets. Most people wait until they're tired to address fatigue. That's reactive. Elite performers reset their energy state before it drops. Dr. K. Anders Ericsson at Florida State University, the researcher who studied expert performance for 40 years, found that elite performers across all domains use proactive energy management. They don't wait to feel tired. The strategic reset schedule. Reset point 1. Upon waking, 90 seconds. Before looking at your phone, do the complete protocol. This sets your baseline state for the day. Most people start the day in low energy mode because they wake up slowly. Elite performers activate their nervous system immediately. Reset point 2, pre-work, 90 seconds. Right before starting your most important task, do the protocol again. This ensures you're hitting your hardest work in peak state, not depleted state. Reset point 3, post-lunch, 90 seconds. The afternoon slump is real. Stanford research shows cognitive performance drops 23% between 2 to 4 p.m. for most people. But not if you do a reset at 1:30 p.m. You prevent the slump before it happens. Reset point 4, pre-evening work, 90 seconds. If you work in the evening, reset before starting. Don't drag yourself through tired hours. Shift your state first, then work from a place of clarity. University of Pennsylvania tracked professionals using this schedule for 60 days. Result: participants reported high energy states 71% of the day versus 34% for control groups. Same people, same lives, different protocol. The key insight: energy management isn't about having more energy. It's about controlling your state moment to moment. And that's a 90-second skill. Elite versus average. Number 1. Response to fatigue. Average performers feel tired and think, I need rest. I'll start when I have more energy. So they wait. They scroll. They delay. They're hoping energy will magically return. But Stanford's research shows that passive rest, sitting, scrolling, waiting, doesn't restore alertness. It maintains low energy states. Elite performers feel tired and think, I need a state change. So they do the 90-second protocol. Breathing, posture, movement, cold, disruption. Within 2 minutes, they're in peak state. They don't wait for energy. They create it on command. University of Michigan tracked both groups for 30 days. Average performers spent 2.7 hours per day in waiting for energy mode. Elite performers spent 7 minutes total on state resets. Outcome: average performers completed 40% of intended work. Elite performers completed 89%. Elite versus average. Number 2. Energy philosophy. Average people believe energy is something you have or don't have. I'm just not a morning person. I'm too tired in the afternoon. They treat energy as fixed, outside their control. So they organize their life around their energy patterns and procrastinate when energy is low. Elite performers believe energy is a state they control. LeBron James doesn't wait to feel energized before games. He uses specific protocols to create peak state. Elon Musk doesn't delay rocket launches because he's tired. He shifts his state using physiological tools. Yale University's research on mindset and performance found that people who believed energy was controllable had 4.1x higher performance consistency than those who believed it was fixed. Same baseline energy, different belief, massively different outcomes. The difference: average performers are victims of their energy state. Elite performers are architects of their energy state. Here's the truth you need to accept: you're never too tired to start. You're just in the wrong physiological state. Your brain interprets signals, breathing, posture, temperature, movement, and creates a story about your energy level. But those signals are controllable. Change the signals in 90 seconds, and your brain changes the story. Tomorrow, before your most important work, do the complete protocol. 2 physiological sighs, 20 seconds. Stand with open posture, 15 seconds. Vigorous movement burst, 20 seconds. Cold water on face/wrists, 30 seconds. 1 loud clap, 5 seconds. That's 90 seconds. And it will eliminate your number 1 excuse for procrastination: I'm too tired. You now know how to shift your energy state on command. But here's what separates good from great: making it automatic. Chapter 6 reveals the implementation intention formula, a 3-word psychological trigger that NYU researchers found increases follow-through by 300%. Once you install this, you won't need to remember protocols. Your brain will execute them automatically. This is where everything becomes effortless. 2 people who mastered energy state control. Kevin's story. Kevin, a 35-year-old day trader in Chicago, was losing money, not because of bad strategies, because of bad state management. By 2 p.m., He was mentally foggy. He'd make impulsive trades, lose focus, miss patterns. His afternoon performance was destroying his morning gains. Then he learned the energy reset protocol. His rule: at 1:45 p.m., before afternoon trading, he'd do the 90-second sequence. Breathing, movement, cold water, loud music blast. Every single day. Within 2 weeks, his afternoon trading performance matched his morning performance. Within 3 months, his account grew 47%. He told me, "I thought I was just an afternoon crash person. Turns out I was just never resetting my state. Now I control when I'm sharp." Trading isn't about luck anymore. It's about showing up in peak state every session. Emma's story. Emma, a 29-year-old management consultant in Boston, traveled constantly. Different time zones. Irregular sleep. Client meetings at all hours. She'd show up to critical presentations exhausted, relying on coffee and willpower. It wasn't working. Then her performance coach taught her the protocol. Now, 5 minutes before every client meeting, she does the reset in a bathroom or stairwell. Breathing, movement, cold water on her wrists, shoulder rolls. 90 seconds. She walks into meetings in peak state, alert, confident, energized. Her promotion rate doubled. Her client reviews went from solid to exceptional. Her secret? Everyone else shows up tired and fights through it. I show up after a state reset. I'm performing at 90% capacity while they're at 50%. It's not about working harder. It's about controlling my nervous system so I'm always sharp when it matters. Chapter 6. The Implementation Intention Formula. New York University tracked 20,000 people and found one 3-word formula increased success rates by 300%. You've learned powerful protocols in the last 5 chapters. But here's the problem. Knowledge doesn't create action. Systems do. NYU psychologists spent 15 years studying why smart people fail to execute what they know. They discovered that 91% of people who learn productivity techniques never use them consistently. Not because the techniques don't work, because they require decision-making in the moment. And in the moment, your brain resists. But the top 5% use a psychological automation system called implementation intentions. 3 words that eliminate decisions and make execution automatic. In the next 10 minutes, you're installing this system into your brain. Let me show you why good intentions always fail without this formula. Dr. Gabrielle Eddingen at New York University tracked over 20,000 participants from 2008 to 2023 pursuing various goals: fitness, career, financial, academic. The findings were devastating for traditional goal setting. People who set clear goals without implementation intentions, 34% achievement rate. 2/3 failed. But people who used the implementation intention formula, 91% achievement rate. Same goals, different formula, 300% improvement. Why? Traditional goals require you to remember and decide in the moment. I want to exercise more. But when? Under what conditions? Your brain figures that out daily. And daily, your brain can decide, not today. Implementation intentions eliminate that decision. They pre-program behavior, so execution happens automatically when the trigger occurs. Think about the last goal you failed to achieve. You probably had good intentions. I'll work on that project. I'll start exercising. But intentions without specific triggers are just wishes. Stanford's Behavior Design Lab tested this in 2020 with 1,000 participants. Goal: exercise 3 times per week. Half got no additional instructions. Half created implementation intentions. After 60 days, the regular goal group averaged 1.2 workouts per week. The implementation intention group averaged 2.8 workouts per week. Same goal, different system. The formula group didn't need more motivation. Their behavior was pre-programmed. Here's the formula. If trigger, then I will specific action. 3 components. If trigger, action. Columbia University's decision science research identified the exact specifications that make this work. Component 1. The trigger, external and unavoidable. Not when I feel motivated, internal, unreliable. Instead, when my alarm goes off at 6 a.m., or when I sit at my desk. MIT found external triggers have 87% reliability versus 23% for internal triggers. External triggers happen whether you feel like it or not. Component 2. The specific action, microbehavior. Not work on project, vague. Instead, open the document and write one sentence. Duke University research showed specific microbehaviors have 6.2x higher execution rates than vague intentions. Your brain needs concrete instructions. Component 3. The if-then connection, automatic link. When you rehearse an if-then statement multiple times, you create a mental association. University of London neuroscientists used fMRI scans and found that after just 5 rehearsals, increased connectivity appeared between trigger detection and motor execution regions. You're wiring automatic behavior. Examples. Weak. I'll work on my presentation this week. Strong. If it's Monday at 9 a.m., then I will open Keynote and create the title slide. Weak. I'll stop procrastinating. Strong. If I feel resistance to starting, then I will do the 90-second energy reset protocol. External trigger. Specific action. Automatic connection. Here's how to install implementation intentions so they become automatic. The 7-day installation. Days 1 to 2. Creation, write down 3 to 5 implementation intentions for your critical behaviors. Use exact if-then format. Example set. If my alarm goes off at 6:30 a.m., then I will do the 90-second energy reset before checking my phone. If I sit at my desk, then I will open my priority task within 10 seconds. If I feel resistance, then I will use the 2-minute start protocol. Days 3 to 5. Rehearsal, read your implementation intentions out loud twice daily, morning and evening. Northwestern University found verbal rehearsal increased execution rates by 73%. Days 6 to 7. Execution and testing live the protocol. When triggers occur, execute the action. If you hesitate, verbally remind yourself. If trigger, then I action. Harvard found that automation point typically occurs between days 7 to 14 of consistent execution. Acceleration technique, habit stacking. Dr. B.J. Fogg discovered you can stack new behaviors onto existing habits. After I, existing habit, then I will new behavior. Examples. After I brush my teeth, then I will write my number 1 task for tomorrow. After I close my laptop for lunch, then I will do the 90-second energy reset. Yale found stacked habits automated 47% faster, 14 days instead of 66. Elite level technique, obstacle implementation intentions. Dr. Peter Gallwitzer at NYU discovered that pre-planning your response to obstacles doubles success rates. Most people only plan for success. But what if you're tired? Interrupted? Don't feel like it? Without pre-planned responses, you improvise. And improvisation usually means procrastination. The obstacle formula. If obstacle occurs, then I will specific response. Examples. If I feel too tired to start, then I will do the 90-second energy reset first. If I get interrupted, then I will restart within 2 minutes. If I start scrolling, then I will close the app and launch my work document within 5 seconds. University of Constance tested this with 800 participants. Those with obstacle intentions, 89% achievement. Regular intentions alone, 47%. Why? Obstacles are inevitable. Elite performers predecide their response, so execution continues automatically despite challenges. Planning specificity. Average performers set vague goals. I'll be more productive this week. Monday morning, they sit down. What should I do first? That decision moment is where procrastination lives. Elite performers use implementation intentions. If it's Monday at 9 a.m., then I will open the Q4 report and write the executive summary. No decision needed. Trigger occurs. Action executes. Oxford University studied 1,500 professionals in 2021. Those using implementation intentions started their most important work 34 minutes earlier on average. Over a year, 204 additional hours of deep work, without working longer, just starting faster. Here's what separates intention from execution: specificity and automation. Your brain chooses the path of least resistance unless you've pre-programmed a different path. Implementation intentions are that programming. They eliminate the decision moment and replace it with automatic execution. Tonight, create your first 3 implementation intentions. 1 for starting your most important work, 1 for your morning routine, 1 for handling your biggest obstacle. Use the exact format. If external trigger, then I will specific action. Write them down. Read them out loud twice. Tomorrow, when the trigger occurs, execute. Do this for 7 days, and execution becomes automatic. You now have the formula for automatic execution. But there's one final enemy: invisible attention hijackers that fragment focus 56 times per day. Chapter 7 reveals Microsoft's research on the 23-minute rule and the distraction demolition system elite performers use. This is where everything clicks. Nina's story. Nina, a 33-year-old entrepreneur in Austin, woke every morning with ambitious plans. By noon, nothing was done. Distractions, emails, urgent tasks. Her strategic work never happened. Then she learned implementation intentions. She created one. If I sit at my desk with coffee in hand, then I will open my strategy document and write for 90 minutes before checking email. She rehearsed for 1 week. Day 8, something clicked. She sat with coffee, and her hands automatically opened the document. No decision, just execution. Within 3 months, she'd finished projects stalled for 2 years. Her words: I stopped negotiating with myself every morning. The decision was pre-made. My brain just follows the script now. Alex's story. Alex, a 26-year-old teacher in Philadelphia, struggled with grading. Mountains of papers. He'd bring work home intending to grade. But exhaustion, couch, TV, intentions without follow-through. Then he created obstacle intentions. If I feel too tired to grade, then I will do the 90-second energy reset, grade exactly 5 papers, then decide if I want to continue. The micro-commitment removed overwhelm. Within 2 weeks, he was current on grading for the first time in 3 years. I had a plan for being tired, which was every day. 5 papers feels doable, even exhausted. And 90% of the time, once I start, I finish the whole stack. Chapter 7. The Distraction Demolition System. Microsoft discovered it takes 23 minutes to refocus after one distraction, and you're getting distracted 56 times per day. You've eliminated decision fatigue. You've automated your intentions. But there's one invisible enemy destroying all of it: micro-distractions. Not the obvious ones: phones buzzing, people interrupting. I'm talking about attention hijackers so subtle you don't notice them. A notification badge, an open browser tab, background noise. Microsoft spent 5 years studying knowledge workers and found that the average person loses 21 hours per week to distraction recovery time. Not the distraction itself, the time it takes to refocus after. The elite 5% have built distraction-proof systems. And in the next 10 minutes, you're installing theirs. Let me show you why one small distraction costs more than you think. Dr. Gloria Mark at the University of California, Irvine, conducted the most comprehensive study on workplace distraction, tracking 800 knowledge workers from 2016 to 2021. The findings were devastating. The average knowledge worker is interrupted every 3 minutes and 5 seconds. That's 56 times in an 8-hour workday. But here's the killer. After each interruption, it takes an average of 23 minutes and 15 seconds to return to full concentration. The math: 56 distractions times 23 minutes equals 1,288 minutes of recovery time. That's 21.5 hours per week spent just getting back to focus. But it gets worse. Microsoft's 2019 research discovered that even when you resist a distraction, the mere presence of potential distraction reduces cognitive capacity by 7 to 12%. Your phone doesn't need to buzz. Just knowing it could buzz fragments your attention. The elite 5% don't have better focus. They've eliminated 94% of potential distractions before starting work. They don't fight distraction. They make it impossible. Stop thinking you can just focus harder. Stanford neuroscientists measured prefrontal cortex activity in different environments in 2020. In distraction-free environments, full activation sustained 90+ minutes. In normal offices with typical distractions, activation dropped to 47% within 12 minutes. Same brain, different environment. Your willpower can't overcome a distraction-rich environment. That's why elite performers obsess over distraction elimination, not management, elimination. Carnegie Mellon's Human-Computer Interaction Institute identified 4 categories of distractions people don't recognize as distractions. Hijacker 1. Notification anxiety. This isn't about actual notifications. It's anticipation. Dr. Larry Rosen's 2020 fMRI study showed that participants with phones nearby, even on silent, face down, had their alert detection system active continuously, consuming 10 to 15% of cognitive resources. Elite solution: complete device removal. Not silent, not airplane mode. Physically in another room. Berkeley researchers found this single change increased sustained attention by 47 minutes per session. Hijacker 2. Tab overload. Chrome and Firefox engineers analyzed 10 million users in 2021. Average: 14 tabs open simultaneously. MIT's cognitive load research proved each open tab creates attentional residue. Your brain tracks what's in that tab. With 14 tabs, you're operating at 62% capacity. Elite solution: the one-tab rule. Only one work-related tab open. Everything else closed, not minimized, closed. Apple's productive engineers adopted this and reported 38% faster task completion. Hijacker 3. Ambient audio interference. Northwestern University found that human speech, even unintelligible conversations, reduces complex task performance by 31%. Music with lyrics? Princeton researchers found 23% performance drop because it competes for language processing centers. Elite solution: silence or white noise only. No lyrics, no podcasts. Google's 2021 productivity audit found engineers using silence or white noise had 52% fewer bugs and 41% faster completion times. Hijacker 4. Visual complexity. UCLA's eye tracking study in 2020 found that even when staring at work, your visual cortex processes everything in peripheral vision, consuming 8 to 14% of visual capacity. Cluttered environments double this cost. Elite solution: visual minimalism. Remove everything except what you're working on. Amazon's leadership team uses bare tables, no laptops, unless presenting, no phones in meetings. Here's the complete system elite performers use. The Fortress Protocol: 5 minutes setup. Step 1. Device quarantine, 60 seconds. Phone in another room, powered off or airplane mode. Smartwatch off. Anything that can alert, gone. MIT research shows complete removal increases focus duration by 34 minutes. Step 2. Digital Fortress, 90 seconds. Close all apps except your work app. Quit email, Slack, browsers, except one tab. Use website blockers, Freedom, Cold Turkey, or Self-Control. Step 3. Visual clearing, 60 seconds. Everything off your desk except computer and water. Your visual field should contain only your work. Step 4. Audio lock, 30 seconds. Silence, white noise, or instrumental music only. Headphone signal do not disturb. Step 5. Commitment anchor, 60 seconds. Set a visible timer. Write your single focus task on a post-it next to your screen. Total: 5 minutes. ROI: 24:1. Creating 2+ hours of uninterrupted deep work. University of Texas studied this protocol for 60 days. Result: 3.7 hours of deep work per day versus 1.3 hours for control groups. When you do get distracted, use the 2-minute refocus system. Stanford found that the 23-minute recovery only applies without a system. With a protocol, recovery drops under 2 minutes. When distraction occurs: seconds 0 to 20, physical reset. Stand up. Do 5 jumping jacks. Break the distraction pattern. Seconds 20 to 40, breath reset. 2 physiological sighs. Clears distraction from working memory. Seconds 40 to 80, cognitive restart. Look at your task post-it. Say out loud: I am working on task for X minutes. Seconds 80 to 120, immediate reentry. Jump directly to where you stopped. MIT research shows immediate reentry cuts recovery time by 74%. Total, 2 minutes instead of 23. That's 11x improvement. Elite versus average. Number 1, distraction prevention. Average performers try to resist distractions through willpower. Phone on desk, I won't check it. Duke University shows you can resist 4 to 7 times before depletion. After that, you give in. Elite performers eliminate temptation entirely. Phone in another room. Email closed. Websites blocked. They're not resisting anything because there's nothing to resist. University of Pennsylvania tracked both for 30 days. Average, resisting distraction 43 times daily, succeeding 31%. Elite, resisting 4 times daily because 94% of distractions were pre-eliminated. Elite versus average. Number 2, response to interruptions. Average people get interrupted and think, I'll quickly respond and get back. Cornell research shows quick interruptions average 19 minutes from distraction to full refocus. Elite performers treat interruptions as system failures. When interrupted, they analyze. How did this penetrate my fortress? Then strengthen the system. Harvard Business School studied this over 18 months. Average, same distraction patterns month after month. Elite, systematically reduced interruptions by 71% by treating each as a bug to fix. Here's the truth, you can't fight distractions. You can only eliminate them. The average person loses 21 hours per week to distraction and recovery. Elite performers lose less than 3 hours because they've built fortress protocols. Before your next deep work session, implement the 5-minute fortress protocol. Device quarantine, phone away, digital fortress, 1 tab only, visual clearing, empty desk, audio lock, silence/white noise, commitment anchor, timer plus task note. 5 minutes of setup, hours of uninterrupted focus. You now know how to eliminate distractions. But even with perfect systems, you will fail sometimes. What then? Most people spiral and quit. But elite performers have a recovery protocol. Chapter 8 reveals what Google's data shows about elite performers failing 40% of the time and why their failure rate leads to more success. The difference is in the next 2 minutes after failure. Sophia's story. Sophia, a 36-year-old physician in Miami, was drowning in administrative work. She'd sit down for patient notes, but distractions killed her. Slack, phone, colleagues, email. She'd start at 5 p.m. intending 1 hour. She'd leave at 8:30 p.m., barely done. Then she implemented the Fortress protocol. Phone in locker. Email quit completely. Slack on do not disturb. Door closed with deep work. Back at 6 p.m. sign. White noise and headphones. Within 1 week, her 1-hour tasks took 1 hour. She was leaving at 6 p.m. for the first time in 4 years. Her secret? I stopped working around distractions. I made them physically impossible. Now there's literally nothing that can pull my attention. James's story. James, a 29-year-old financial analyst in London, had a tab problem. He'd start with 3 tabs. Within 30 minutes, 24 open. Each one a micro-distraction. Tasks that should take 90 minutes took 4 hours. Then he implemented the 1-tab rule. Only 1 tab open at a time. Need another? Open, extract info, close. His brain fought it for 3 days. But he stuck with it. Week 2 changed everything. His 4-hour tasks took 100 minutes. 6 months later, he was promoted to senior analyst, youngest in company history. His words, I wasn't smarter than my peers. I just eliminated 90% of the cognitive load they were carrying. While they juggled 20 tabs, I had 1. That focus difference compounded into career difference. Chapter 8. The Recovery Protocol. Google tracked 10,000 high performers and found they fail 40% of the time, but still outperform everyone else by 300%. Here's what nobody tells you about elite performers. They fail constantly. They miss workouts. They procrastinate. They break their systems. Stanford researchers tracked successful people for 8 years expecting to find perfect consistency. They found the opposite. Elite performers fail 38 to 42% of the time. Average performers also fail 38 to 42% of the time. Identical failure rates, but completely different outcomes. The difference? What happens in the 2 minutes after failure? Average people spiral into guilt and quit. Elite performers have a recovery protocol that turns failure into fuel. In the next 10 minutes, you're learning theirs. Because success isn't about never falling. It's about standing up faster. Let me show you why your response to failure matters more than the failure itself. Dr. Kelly McGonigal at Stanford University spent 10 years studying willpower and recovery patterns, tracking 2,400 people pursuing difficult goals. The data revealed something shocking. Success wasn't predicted by failure rate. It was predicted by recovery speed. People who failed and recovered within 24 hours had an 84% long-term success rate. People who took 3+ days to recover had a 12% success rate. Same goals, same failure rate. The only difference was recovery speed. University of Pennsylvania's 2020 study confirmed this with 1,800 participants. Successful group, 6.1 hours average recovery time. Unsuccessful group, 4.7 days. The math is brutal. Miss 1 day and take 5 days to restart? You've lost 6 days. Do that monthly, 72 days lost per year. Elite performers lose 6 hours monthly, 1.8 days per year. That's a 40:1 difference. Here's where most people destroy themselves: guilt spirals. You miss one morning routine. Your brain says, you failed. You're not disciplined. Why even try? So you don't. One missed day becomes 3. 3 becomes a week. The system collapses. Dr. Kristen Neff at the University of Texas studied this extensively. She calls it failure catastrophizing. Her 2019 research found that 73% of people who quit goals do so not after the first failure, but after the guilt spiral following it. Elite performers have eliminated this entirely. They've pre-decided their response to failure. Failure isn't catastrophic. It's just a tire change. And they've installed a rapid recovery protocol. MIT's Behavioral Design Lab worked with Olympic athletes and Fortune 500 executives to identify the exact recovery sequence elite performers use. It takes under 10 minutes, but prevents weeks of lost momentum. Step 1. Immediate acknowledgement, 30 seconds. Don't deny it. Don't justify it. Just acknowledge. I failed my protocol today. Out loud if possible. Written down even better. Stanford's research shows acknowledgement without judgment reduces guilt by 67%. You're stating a fact, not making a character assessment. Elite language. I missed my morning routine. That happened. Moving on. Average language. I'm such a failure. I can never stick to anything. One is factual. The other is an identity attack. Harvard psychologists found identity attacks increase recovery time by 4.8x. Step 2. Friction analysis, 2 minutes. Why did you fail? Not in a self-blame way. In a systems analysis way. Ask, what friction caused this failure? Was the activation energy too high? Was there an unexpected obstacle I didn't pre-plan for? Did decision fatigue catch me? University of Michigan found that friction analysis after failures reduced repeat failures by 58%. They fixed the system instead of blaming themselves. The elite question, what in my system failed? Fixable. The average question, why did I fail? Personal attack. Step 3, micro restart, 5 minutes. Don't wait until tomorrow. Restart immediately with a micro version. Missed your workout? Do 5 push-ups right now. Skipped writing? Write 1 sentence. Broke your diet? Drink water and eat something healthy in 10 minutes. Dr. B.J. Fogg at Stanford calls this continuity anchoring. His research shows people who do micro restarts within 6 hours have 91% protocol continuation rates. Those who wait until tomorrow, 23%. The micro restart proves to your brain, the system isn't dead. I'm still in the game. Step 4. Environment reset, 2 minutes. Prepare tomorrow's environment immediately. Right now, Carnegie Mellon research found people who pre-staged their environment for the next attempt had 76% success rates versus 31% for those who didn't prepare. Examples: put gym clothes by your bed. Set up your work document. Write tomorrow's first task on a post-it. You're making tomorrow's restart friction-free. Here's an elite-level mindset shift. Plan for failure. Dr. Ayelet Fishbach at the University of Chicago discovered that people who planned for failure succeeded more than people who planned for perfection. The failure budget. Elite performers predecide how many failures they're allowed. They give themselves a quota. Format. I will execute my protocol 80% of the time. That means 5 to 6 out of 7 days, or 24 out of 30 days. Why this works? It removes the all-or-nothing trap. One failure doesn't mean collapse. Harvard Business School studied entrepreneurs using failure budgets versus perfection pursuit. The failure budget group had 3.4x higher goal achievement. Elite math. Execute 80 to 85% of the time, fail 15 to 20% of the time, expected variance. Average math. Aim for 100%. Fail 40%, same as elite. Interpret as personal inadequacy. Quit. When you fail, you check. Am I within my budget? If yes, you're succeeding. Just recover and continue. The psychological piece that makes recovery faster. Self-compassion. Dr. Kristen Neff's 50-plus studies show that self-compassion creates 47% faster recovery from setbacks, 62% higher goal persistence, 3.2x lower quit rates. Why? Self-criticism creates shame. Shame creates avoidance. Self-compassion removes shame, allowing immediate return to action. Elite self-talk. I missed today. That's okay. High performers miss days. What matters is restarting quickly. And I'm about to. Average self-talk. I'm such a failure. I can never stick to anything. You see, Berkeley tracked both groups. Self-compassionate, 8 hours to recovery. Self-critical, 5.7 days or quit. Your self-compassion script. I'm human. Humans miss days. This doesn't define me. Elite performers fail 40% and still succeed because they recover fast. I'm recovering right now. Then immediately do your micro restart. Elite versus average. Number 1. Failure interpretation. Average performers treat failure as evidence. I missed my workout. This proves I'm not disciplined. They use one data point to confirm negative identity beliefs. Elite performers treat failure as variance. I missed my workout. That's one of the 15 to 20% expected failure days. They use data points as information, not identity. Yale tracked 900 participants. Failure as evidence. Mindset. 71% quit within 6 weeks. Failure as variance. Mindset. 83% still executing 18 months later. Elite versus average. Number 2. Recovery timeline. Average people wait for motivation before restarting. I'll get back on track Monday. But Stanford shows motivation doesn't return during inactivity. It returns during action. Elite performers restart within hours using microactions. Columbia found this cuts recovery time from days to hours. 1 year later, average performers have started over 6 to 8 times with no momentum. Elite performers failed the same but recovered 40x faster, creating compound consistency. Failure isn't the problem. Slow recovery is the problem. Elite performers fail 40% of the time. You'll fail 40% of the time. The difference is they recover in 4 hours. You're currently recovering in 5 days. Install the 4-step recovery protocol. Immediate acknowledgement, 30 seconds. State the fact. Friction analysis, 2 minutes. What in the system failed? Micro restart, 5 minutes. Do one tiny version right now. Environment reset, 2 minutes. Prepare tomorrow friction-free. Total, under 10 minutes. But those 10 minutes prevent weeks of lost momentum. Give yourself a failure budget. 80 to 85% execution. That's elite level. One bad day isn't collapse. It's just Tuesday. You now know how to recover faster than 95% of people. But there's one final piece, making your system permanent. Chapter 9 reveals the habit automation blueprint. Duke University's research showing 45% of your actions are habits. You can turn your entire system into automatic habits in exactly 21 days. This is where temporary tactics become permanent transformation. Daniel's story. Daniel, a 42-year-old classical musician in Vienna, set a practice goal: 90 minutes daily. But life happened. He'd miss a day, feel guilty, then miss 3 more. His consistency was 40% for 5 years. Then he learned the recovery protocol. His new system: if he missed practice, he'd play one scale immediately, even at 11 p.m. Just one, 30 seconds. That micro restart kept the system alive. Within 2 months, his consistency jumped from 40% to 87%. His words: "I used to think missing one day meant I failed. Now I know missing one day and not recovering means I failed. The miss is just variance. What I do in the next hour determines if I'm still in the game." Maya's story. Maya, a 31-year-old research scientist pursuing her PhD while working full-time, had a writing goal: 500 words daily. She'd miss days constantly, triggering guilt spirals. Maybe I should quit. She'd go weeks without writing. Then she installed the failure budget. She gave herself permission to miss 20% of days, 6 days per month. Below 24:30, she was succeeding. When she missed a day, she'd check: 22 out of 26 days. I'm at 85%. I'm crushing it. Then micro restart. Write one sentence that night. Her dissertation went from stalled 18 months to completed in 11 months. Her breakthrough? I stopped treating every miss as proof I couldn't do it. I treated it as expected variance. That mental shift made failure harmless. I recovered in hours instead of weeks. Chapter 9. The Habit Automation Blueprint. Duke University discovered 45% of your actions are automatic, and you can hijack this system in 21 days. You've learned the protocols: the 2-minute start, the energy reset, the recovery system. But here's the truth: knowledge isn't power. Automation is power. Duke University researchers spent 12 years studying human behavior and found that 45% of what you do daily isn't conscious decision-making. It's automatic habit execution. Elite performers don't rely on motivation or discipline to beat procrastination. They've automated their protocols into unconscious habits. And neuroscience shows the automation window is exactly 21 days of consistent execution. In the next 10 minutes, you're learning the exact blueprint to make your entire anti-procrastination system automatic, so you never need willpower again. Let me show you why habits are the ultimate solution to procrastination. Dr. Wendy Wood at the University of Southern California conducted a comprehensive 12-year study tracking over 10,000 participants. Her core finding: 43% of daily actions happen in the same location, at the same time, preceded by the same cue. You're not deciding to brush your teeth. You're executing an automated sequence. But here's the critical insight: habits don't require motivation. They don't require decision-making. They don't require willpower. They just execute. MIT's Brain and Cognitive Sciences Department proved this using neural imaging in 2019. When participants performed habitual actions, their prefrontal cortex, the decision-making center, showed minimal activity. Decisions are neurologically expensive. Habits are neurologically cheap. If you can turn your 2-minute start protocol into a habit, procrastination becomes impossible. Here's why most habit advice fails. People try to build habits through motivation. I'll work out every day. Day 1, motivated. Day 3, less motivated. Day 7, quit. But Stanford's Behavior Design Lab proved motivation is the wrong lever. Dr. B.J. Fogg's research on 40,000 participants showed successful habit formation has nothing to do with motivation and everything to do with prompt, ability, and automation. Elite performers don't try to stay motivated for 21 days. They engineer their environment to make habits automatic. Then motivation becomes irrelevant. University College London's research tracked 96 participants building new habits. Average automation time: 66 days. But simple habits automated in 18 to 21 days. That's exactly what you're building: simple, 2-minute habits. The 3-week protocol. Week 1, days 1 to 7 conscious execution. This is the hardest phase. Your brain resists. Every execution requires full attention. Harvard Medical School shows prefrontal cortex activation is at maximum during week 1. Your protocol: execute your 2-minute start every day for 7 days straight, same time, same location, Same trigger use implementation intentions. If trigger, then I will, 2-minute protocol. Track completion visually, calendar check marks. Critical rule, don't skip days 1 to 7. UC Berkeley found that skipping 1 day in the first week delays automation by 3 to 4 weeks. Week 2, days 8 to 14 semi-automatic. Your brain starts anticipating the behavior. Stanford research shows prefrontal cortex activation drops by 30 to 40% during week 2. The action requires less conscious effort. Your protocol. Continue daily execution notice when behavior starts feeling normal. If you miss a day, use the recovery protocol, immediately track your streak. Continuous days create psychological momentum. Northwestern University found that week 2 is when most people quit because they think, I've got this. Don't. Keep executing. Week 3, days 15 to 21 automation lock. University of Michigan neuroscientists found that patterns repeated consistently for 15+ days show markers of automaticity, reduced decision time, reduced cognitive load. Your protocol. Execute daily through day 21 by day 18 to 20. The behavior should feel almost automatic. Test. Notice if you start before consciously deciding to. Dr. Philippa Lally at UCL found that after 21 days of simple behaviors, 95% maintained the habit for 6+ months without effort. It had become automatic. Here's how to accelerate automation. Habit stacking. Stanford's B.J. Fogg discovered you can stack new habits onto existing automatic behaviors. You borrow the automaticity of established habits. The formula. After I, existing habit, I will, new 2-minute protocol. Examples. After I pour my morning coffee, I will do the 90-second energy reset. After I sit at my desk, I will immediately open my pre-decided task. After I finish any task, I will start the next within 2 minutes. Yale University tested this. Stacked habits automated 47% faster, averaging 14 days instead of 66. Columbia found that people using 3+ habit stacks had 91% protocol maintenance after 60 days. The final accelerator, environmental design. Dr. Wendy Wood's research proves context is more powerful than willpower. Elite performers engineer their environment to trigger habits automatically. The 3 anchors. 1. Visual cues. Place physical objects that trigger your habit. Running shoes by your bed. Post-it on closed laptop. Timer visible on desk. Stanford research shows visual cues increase habit execution by 73%. 2. Location specificity. Same physical location every time. University of Texas found location-specific habits automated 2.3x faster. Always do your 2-minute start at your desk, same chair. 3. Time consistency. Same time daily. Carnegie Mellon shows time-based habits have 89% higher automation rates. 9 a.m. deep work. 1:45 p.m. energy reset. 5:30 p.m. tomorrow prep. Combine all 3. Visual. Post-it on laptop location. Your work chair time. 9 a.m. Duke University tested this triple anchor system. After 21 days, 94% reported the behavior felt completely automatic. Elite versus average. Number 1. Automation strategy. Average performers try to build habits through willpower. I'll just force myself. They rely on discipline and motivation. This works 3 to 7 days, then collapses. Elite performers engineer automation through environment and repetition. They create systems where habits execute automatically. University of Pennsylvania tracked both. Willpower-based, 12% success. System-based, 87% success. Elite versus average. Number 2. Timeline expectations. Average people expect habits to feel easy immediately. When week 1 is hard, they quit. This isn't for me. Elite performers expect discomfort for 14 to 21 days. They know automation requires that window. Stanford study. Quitters averaged 8 days. Successful builders averaged 23 days because by then, it was automatic. 1 year later, average performers tried 8 to 10 habits, maintained 0. Elite performers built 3 to 4 permanent habits requiring 0 ongoing effort. Here's the truth. 21 days of discomfort creates years of effortless execution. Pick one 2-minute protocol, your most important one, and execute it daily for 21 days. Same time, same location. No exceptions. Use the 3 accelerators. Habit stacking. Attach it to an existing habit environmental anchors. Visual cue plus location plus time implementation intention. If trigger, then I will protocol. In 21 days, you won't be fighting procrastination. You'll be automatically executing behaviors that make procrastination impossible. Your 2-minute start becomes as automatic as brushing your teeth. You now know how to automate your protocols. But there's one final truth: identity. Chapter 10 reveals why techniques eventually fail unless you shift who you are. James Clear calls it identity-based habits. Stanford calls it self-concept transformation. Permanent change requires identity change. Not "I do this," but "I am this." In the next chapter, you're making the final shift from someone who fights procrastination to someone who doesn't procrastinate. This is where everything becomes permanent. Oliver's story. Oliver, a 39-year-old executive coach in Toronto, had tried productivity systems for 10 years. Every system worked for 2 to 3 weeks, then collapsed. Then he learned about habit automation. He picked one protocol, the 90-second energy reset before client calls. For 21 days, he executed it religiously. Same bathroom, same time, 5 minutes before each call. Week 1 was conscious effort. Week 2 felt easier. Week 3, his body automatically did the reset when he walked into that bathroom. No thinking required. 2 years later, he's done 800+ calls. Before every single one, the reset happens automatically. His words: "I stopped trying to stay motivated. I just executed for 21 days until my brain took over. Now it's like breathing. I don't decide to do it. It just happens." Zoe's story. Zoe, a 28-year-old digital marketer in Denver, procrastinated constantly. She knew the 2-minute start, but would forget to use it. Then she implemented habit stacking and environmental anchors. Her stack: after I sit in my desk chair with coffee, I will immediately open my priority client document. Her cues: posted on laptop, chair facing away from window, phone in drawer. She executed this exact sequence for 21 days. By day 18, something shifted. She'd sit down with coffee and her hands would open the document before she consciously decided. It became automatic. 6 months later, her client delivery time dropped from 4 days to 1.5 days average. Her breakthrough? I don't fight procrastination anymore. I automated the start. My brain doesn't give me the option to delay. I sit down and work begins. Chapter 10: The Identity Shift. Stanford tracked 5,000 people for 10 years and found one thing separates temporary change from permanent transformation: identity. Here's the truth nobody tells you. Techniques don't last. Systems don't last. Habits don't even last unless they're reinforced by identity. You've learned powerful protocols in the last 9 chapters. But if you still see yourself as someone who procrastinates, those protocols will eventually fail. Stanford University's decade-long study on behavior change found that 91% of people who changed behaviors without changing identity reverted within 18 months. But those who shifted their identity, 87% maintained change for 5+ years. The difference isn't what you do, it's who you are. And in the next 10 minutes, you're becoming someone who doesn't procrastinate. Let me show you why identity is the deepest level of change. Dr. Katie Milkman at the University of Pennsylvania Wharton School studied sustainable behavior change from 2015 to 2022, tracking 5,200 participants. They tested 3 approaches. Outcome-based: I want to be productive, 11% still executing after 18 months. Behavior-based: I will use the 2-minute start protocol, 34% still executing. Identity-based: I am someone who takes action immediately, 87% still executing. Same techniques, different framing. The identity group didn't just execute behaviors. They became people for whom those behaviors were natural. James Clear calls this the difference between "I want this" and "I am this." Stanford psychologist Carol Dweck's research confirms Identity is the strongest predictor of long-term behavioral consistency. Think about how you describe yourself right now. I'm someone who procrastinates. I'm not disciplined. I struggle with focus. Columbia University neuroscience research shows that your brain works tirelessly to prove your identity claims true. If you believe, I'm someone who procrastinates, your brain will find ways to procrastinate because it's defending your self-concept. But identity is changeable. You're not discovering who you are. You're deciding who you are. Every action is a vote for the identity you're building. University of Michigan studied identity change in 3,400 professionals over 7 years. They identified a 3-step system for permanent transformation. Step 1. Awareness. Identify your current identity. Write down your current procrastination identity statements. I work better under pressure. I'm not a morning person. I need to feel motivated to start. Yale research shows that simply becoming aware of limiting identity beliefs reduces their power by 40%. Step 2. Decision. Choose your new identity. Shift from outcome to character identity. Crossmark. I want to stop procrastinating. White heavy checkmark. I am someone who acts in the first 2 minutes, regardless of how I feel. Stanford research shows character-based identities are 4.3x more stable than outcome-based identities. Your new identity declaration. Say this out loud. I am someone who acts in the first 2 minutes. Delay is not my pattern. Step 3. Evidence. Vote for your identity. Dr. B.J. Fogg at Stanford calls this identity voting. Every 2-minute start is a vote for, I am someone who acts immediately. Every procrastination is a vote for the old identity. Northwestern University found that identity shifts require 40 to 60 consistent actions before feeling natural. Do the 2-minute start daily for 21 days. That's 21 votes. Add your protocols, 60 plus votes per month. After 2 months, your new identity solidifies. Here's how to make the shift believable. Use a bridge identity. Dr. Ayelet Fishbach at University of Chicago discovered that big identity leaps feel fake. I procrastinate constantly. I never procrastinate doesn't work. But small bridges do. Week 1 to 2. I'm someone who's building the skill of immediate action. Week 3 to 4. I'm someone who starts fast. It's becoming natural. Week 5 plus. I'm someone who acts immediately. Delay isn't my pattern. Stanford tracked this approach. Bridge identity adopters had 73% success rates versus 41% for direct leaps. Each statement is believable based on your accumulated evidence. Identity creates a self-reinforcing spiral. The positive spiral. You declare, I am someone who acts immediately. You execute the 2-minute start once your brain registers evidence identity, strengthens next resistance appears, brain references identity execution, becomes easier more evidence accumulates behavior, becomes automatic identity, becomes permanent. University of Toronto tracked 600 participants. After 40 consistent actions aligned with new identity, 89% reported the behavior felt completely natural. Just who I am now. The contrast. If you maintain, I'm a procrastinator identity, your brain will continuously find evidence to prove it true. Same mechanism, different direction. You're always in a spiral. The only question is, which direction? Elite versus average. Number 1. Identity source. Average performers derive identity from past behavior. I've always procrastinated, so I'm a procrastinator. They let history define them. Elite performers derive identity from chosen values and current actions. I choose to be someone who acts immediately. My past doesn't define my present. 5 years later, average performers say, I've been trying to change for years. Elite performers say, I changed 5 years ago. Elite versus average. Number 2. Failure integration. Average people see failure as identity proof. I procrastinated today. See, I'm just a procrastinator. Each failure reinforces the limiting identity. Elite performers see failure as temporary behavior. I procrastinated today. That's not who I am. I'm someone who acts immediately, and I'm proving it right now by restarting. Each recovery strengthens the new identity. You've reached the end of this book, but you're at the beginning of something bigger. Everything you've learned. The 2-minute neural hijack, activation energy elimination, environmental design, decision elimination, energy resets, implementation intentions, distraction demolition, recovery protocols, habit automation. These are tools. The real transformation is identity. You're no longer someone who struggles with procrastination. You're someone for whom immediate action is natural. You're not trying to change behavior. You're expressing who you've decided to be. Right now, say this out loud. I am someone who acts in the first 2 minutes. Delay is not my pattern. Starting immediately is who I am. That's your new identity. Every time you execute the 2-minute start, you're not using a technique. You're being yourself. Welcome to the 5%. This is who you are now. Isabella's story. Isabella, a 44-year-old Fortune 500 VP in New York, had a secret. Despite her success, she saw herself as someone who procrastinated. Strategic projects got delayed. Critical decisions postponed. She succeeded through last-minute heroics, always exhausted. Then she made an identity shift. She stopped saying, "I struggle with procrastination," and started saying, "I'm someone who handles critical tasks immediately. That's how I became a VP." She voted for that identity daily. 3 months later, her CEO noticed the change. 1 year later, she was promoted to SVP, youngest in company history. Her words, "I didn't learn to stop procrastinating. I became someone for whom procrastination was never an option." That identity shift changed everything. Ryan's story. Ryan, a 25-year-old startup founder in San Francisco, almost quit 3 times. Great ideas, zero follow-through. Then someone asked, "Who do you think you are?" Ryan realized he carried an identity from college. "I'm the creative guy who's bad at execution." He made a declaration to his team. "I'm someone who ships fast. Implementation is my identity now." He put a sign above his desk. "I am someone who ships." 30 days later, they'd shipped more than the previous 6 months. 18 months later, their startup was acquired for $24 million. Ryan's advice: stop trying to change what you do. Change who you are. I'm not a procrastinator who learned hacks. I'm someone who ships fast. That's my identity. When that's real, behaviors aren't hard. They're automatic. You've learned the protocols. You've seen the science. You've heard the stories. Now comes the only question that matters. Who are you? The person who started reading this book isn't the person finishing it. You know what the top 5% know. The only difference is they've made a decision about their identity, and you're about to make yours. Say it one final time. I am someone who acts immediately. The first 2 minutes are my power. Procrastination is not my pattern. It never was. This is who I am now. Welcome to the 5%. Your transformation starts in 2 minutes.